What if the very name of one of history's greatest cities was decided not by a king's sword, but by a contest between two gods? This is the story of how Athens got its name. Our story's hero is Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare. Unlike gods who craved conquest, Athena wanted something rarer: to nurture a mortal city and guide its people toward knowledge, craft, and lasting peace. But Athena was not the only Olympian with her eyes on that young city. Poseidon, god of the sea and earthquakes, and Athena's own uncle, wanted it too. He saw its coastline as the perfect jewel to add to his watery dominion, and he was not used to losing what he wanted. Down on that rocky hill lived the people who would soon be caught between these two gods, ruled by a wise and unusual king named Cecrops. Half man, half serpent, Cecrops was known for his fairness, and it would fall to him to judge which god deserved to claim the city as its own. Word of the two gods' rivalry soon reached Olympus itself, and Zeus, king of all gods, knew he had to intervene before their pride destroyed the very city they both desired. He decreed a rule: no god could simply seize a mortal city by force. Instead, Athena and Poseidon would each offer the people one gift, and whichever gift served them best would win the city forever. So it was decided. The two rivals would meet atop the sacred rock before the mortal king and his people and present their gifts in front of all Olympus. Poseidon arrived first, brimming with confidence. He had never lost a contest of power before, and he did not believe wisdom could possibly outshine the raw might of the sea. Athena arrived quietly beside him, carrying no weapon raised in threat, only calm certainty. She believed that a gift built to last would always outvalue a gift built to impress. The stakes were higher than anyone realized. Whichever god won would not just get a name carved onto a hill. They would shape the destiny of everyone who lived there for generations to come. Would this city grow through conquest and sea power, or through knowledge, craft, and peace? King Cecrops raised his hand and called the contest to begin. Poseidon, ever eager to prove his dominance, stepped forward first. With a mighty roar, Poseidon slammed his trident into the bare rock with all his strength. The ground shuddered, and where the trident struck, a great spring burst upward toward the sky. The crowd gasped, thinking Poseidon had given them water, a gift beyond price on this dry hill. But when the people cupped their hands and drank, their faces fell. The water was salty as the sea itself, undrinkable, useless for their fields or their throats. Poseidon, unbothered, simply declared that the spring was a symbol of naval power and endless riches from the sea, whether they could drink it or not. Now it was Athena's turn. She knelt quietly on the same rocky ground, and instead of striking it with force, she gently placed a single olive branch into the soil. Before everyone's eyes, the branch took root and grew, unfurling into a full, silver-leafed olive tree heavy with fruit, right there on the barren stone. King Cecrops walked forward and examined the tree closely. He explained to his people what it truly meant. Its fruit could feed them, its oil could light their lamps and heal their wounds, and its wood could build their homes and ships for generations. Unlike Poseidon's spring, this gift did not just impress, it would sustain them, harvest after harvest, long after this day was forgotten. Whispers of favor for Athena spread quickly through the crowd, but the final decision was not the mortals alone to make. The matter had to be settled by judgment, as Zeus had commanded. Zeus descended with the Olympian council to weigh both gifts, but by ancient custom, the people themselves were allowed to cast their voices. the men favoring Poseidon's power, the women favoring Athena's promise of life. When the count was finished, the women outnumbered the men by a single vote. The city had chosen Athena. Cecrops stepped forward and declared, before gods and mortals alike, that Athena's gift had won. The city would belong to her. A wave of celebration swept through the crowd, cheering the goddess who had given them a future rooted in the earth itself. But not everyone was celebrating. Poseidon stood rigid, humiliated in front of the entire Olympian council, defeated not by strength, but by a single vote. His pride could not bear the loss. Poseidon believed that a god of his power should never lose to anyone, and certainly not over the vote of mortal women. A god's fury unleashed. In his rage, Poseidon raised his trident and summoned the sea itself, sending a massive wave crashing toward the plains below the city, threatening to drown the very people who had just celebrated their victory. Panic spread instantly. The very people Athena had just won were now in danger of losing everything because of a god's wounded pride. It was Zeus who stepped in before the flood could reach the city. As king of the gods, he would not allow mortal lives to be destroyed, simply to soothe one god's damaged pride. Zeus commanded Poseidon to withdraw his waters, reminding him that a contest lost with dignity was still a victory of character. Reluctantly and still fuming, Poseidon obeyed, pulling the flood back into the sea. But even in victory, Athena understood something Poseidon never could. True wisdom is not just about winning, it's about keeping the peace afterward. So Athena made an offer to her defeated uncle. Rather than let his anger fester, she proposed that the city honor Poseidon too, with shrines, festivals, and a place of respect within her new city, so that his pride would be soothed without endangering another single life. Cecrops and the citizens agreed at once, eager to prevent further disaster, and promised to build a sacred shrine to Poseidon right beside Athena's temple on the rock. Poseidon, his pride slowly cooling, finally accepted the offer. It was not the outright victory he wanted, but it was an honor he could live with, and the storm inside him quieted at last. With peace restored between the two gods, the city could finally be given its name. In honor of the goddess who had chosen wisdom and lasting life over raw power, the people named their home Athens. The olive tree Athena had grown became the city's most treasured symbol. From it grew groves that would feed families, fuel their lamps, and fund trade for centuries to come. Atop the very spot where the contest took place, the people began building a magnificent temple in Athena's honor, a sacred site that would one day become the foundation of one of the most famous monuments in the ancient world. But the myth remembers a bittersweet cost to that day. As the story goes, because the women's votes had tipped the scale, and to calm the lingering unease among the men who had lost, the city later decided that women would no longer be allowed to vote, and children would take only their father's name. It was a reminder, even within a story about wisdom triumphing over pride, that peace between the powerful is rarely without cost to those who have the least power of all. Even so, the city rose. Under Athena's guiding wisdom, Athens grew into a place of learning, philosophy, art, and trade, a beacon that would one day be remembered as the cradle of Western civilization. And Poseidon, though he never got the city he wanted, was never truly forgotten. Sailors still poured offerings into the sea before every voyage, praying to him for safe passage across the very waters he ruled. In the end, the tale of Athena and Poseidon was never really about a spring versus a tree. It was about two very different ideas of power, brute force that demands submission, and patient wisdom that earns devotion. Athens chose wisdom that day, and it flourished because of it. A lesson still remembered thousands of years later, carved not in stone, but in the very name of the city itself.